Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Sake Drinker and Friends. We are very excited here in the Napa Valley. Beautiful weather outside. We're working back here at the Momo-san Sake Japanese Whiskey Chochu Bar, and we have a very special guest, somebody that I've always looked up to in terms of sake. If it wasn't for her, we actually wouldn't be here today. This is Tamiko-san.
Wow, I wasn't prepared for that introduction, but yeah, nice to be here, Eduardo. Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, very excited. Tell me what we shall cover today.
Well, I first wanted to give a quick intro on your life. So right now you're the biggest force, I think, in Northern California in terms of sake, and that's speaking lightly. And I wanted to know a little bit about your background for everybody that's watching the show and that's here. A little bit of you, where you come from.
Certainly, yeah. I am originally from Chiba, Japan. Chiba is a little bit outside of Tokyo, about a 30-minute ride to, let's say, southeast of Japan. And I actually had a kind of a I'm a late bloomer in terms of being in the industry professionally, but I actually had a really early start because when I was about 2-3 years old, I used to sit on my dad's lap. My dad's a big sake drinker. Too much sometimes, and I used to sit on his lap, and then I dip my fingers in his whatever was in his glass, and all these salty snacks that was in front of him, and that's kind of like sneaking a little bit of salt and a little bit of sake, a little bit of salt and sake, and so I kind of had a sort of, without me knowing it, I had a kind of developed a palate for sake very young, but then I just like any teenagers growing up in 80s in Japan, I was totally more into like cocktails, wines, like I grew up drinking screwdrivers and a Campari soda, and that was really in the late 80s. That was primarily what I was drinking growing up. But then again, in my late 20s, we discovered sake as a beverage, as an art form, as some part of culture from where I'm come from that I was very proud of. So here I am. I've been doing this for, this is my 9th year in the industry. I was with an importer previously called Joto Sake. We have a couple of sakes from the company pouring today. And then now I'm managing a pretty large portfolio at the alcohol distributor called Young's Market. You probably guys have seen red trucks running around town. I'm taking care of sake as a category and trying to grow that business. It's going great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say we'll cover it in a little bit, but sake business as a whole, it's growing. It's a massive force, especially in the U.S., right?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I would say the domestic sake, the latest statistic, the domestic sake was about flat, a little bit up, maybe 1% at the best, but the import was up 13%, which is actually one of the fastest growing by category, and beating a lot of the wine categories in terms of growth rate. So it's really exciting.
Worth mentioning, definitely.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we have a pretty thirsty crowd, looks like, and I'm sure you guys all eager to learn about some sake. So you chose this one, which is amazing. You introduced me to it. It's a Nama sake, and you could probably go into detail about Nama sake and be as excited as you always are about this one.
Wow. So. Yeah, I mean, Nama is always exciting. I think it's really the freshness and kind of immediacy of the sake experience really speaks to a lot of American consumers, I think. There are a lot of Nama fans out there. It's really bright and usually laced with lots of melon and nutty notes. A lot of statements, especially up front, like a fragrance and everything, very prominent. But what happens to Nama after, this is actually was a spring release. So now this is about 10 months, 11 months since it's been bottled and shipped. So this is considered pretty mature Nama, and but I'm a big fan of settled and mature Nama. When it's made well, Nama matures really well, and this has a little bit more like a fragrance of a mushroom and again more nutty notes that was a little bit more subtle, but now become a little more prominent as it gets to be more settled in the bottle. So it's a kind of sees its second life, as an Namazake, and I feel like Seikyo is going through that phase right now. So it's really exciting.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Nama, for most of you that might not know, it's unpasteurized, which gives it that always moving liveliness to it. It's alive, right? And if I don't recall wrong, you went to this brewery.
Absolutely.
Last year, was it?
Well, I've been there twice. Yes, a couple of times. It's they're based in Hiroshima. I don't know if you're able to pan out to the map of Japan, Susan, but yeah, they're located a little bit southwest of Kansai area, and they're generally their sake, Hiroshima sake, is known for being more feminine because of their softer water. It's kind of a regional style. But actually, Seikyo, it has a little bit layers of minerality that's kind of only unique to them because they're actually this little town that this brewery is located in used to be a salt farm. So there's a lot of mineral and salt in the ground that their spring water touches. So yeah, it has a sort of like a taffy kind of little expression as well, which is kind of unusual for this region. Yeah.
Very delicious.
Yes.
And
Nakao Brewery. Nakao Brewery is the name of the brewery.
Nakao.
Yeah.
And they are actually
great
known
brewery.
for developing green apple yeast, right? Which is not used on this one.
Not used on this one. This is a number 9, but yes, there are. Nakao Brewery is known for a couple things. One is the discovery of an apple yeast. It's a strain of yeast that was discovered on the core of an apple. This happened in 1940s, like I think 48. The current brewery owner, Mr. Nakao's grandfather, was totally into lab was where he thrived, not the brewery, but the lab. And he studied over 2,000 strains of yeast in his lifetime. And when he discovered the strain of yeast on apple, he swore by it. It's like, this is it. This is the perfect strain of yeast and a brewing characteristic that's perfect for their water, for their koji making style. And then that's how they came to be known as a discoverer of apple yeast. Thank you. Looks delicious.
Just a
yes.
fun little
And the
bites,
other
but
thing
nothing
they're known for, which this sake is made using, is a kon toka. It's the high temperature, like a high temperature moto making, like a yeast starter making
so
process.
When they start getting the whole process going.
Yes, after koji rice is made, and when that's mixed with before it's mixed with yeast and lactic acid a little bit, that's more modern style. They actually raise the temperature of the moto quite high, and to kind of make a sterile kind of environment, and then they introduce lactic acid and yeast. And this method actually now being used by a lot of other breweries. They actually discovered the method.
How do you think that affects the final product?
Yeah, you know, that's a good question. I don't have a clear answer to that, but what I know is that kon toka was developed because to bring out the best of the apple yeast. So it happened back to back in terms of timing, and yeah, it's a little bit safer way. It's you're
controlling all the enzymes.
It's a little bit more controlled, yes, and they say it's a more surer way to make moto. So yeah, that's what it's known for.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and earlier in the day and previously we talked about some pairings for this nama. And Tamiko has an amazing pairing. Unfortunately, we're out of season, but for her, it's tomatoes, a little mozzarella or burrata, just a very simple caprese salad, which actually shows amazing. However, this time we're doing something that's a little more current. It's in our menu, and I thought that the notes would kind of resemble the acidity, the playfulness of a caprese salad. This one is a lamb carpaccio. Has a little ginger garlic paste, chive oil.
Looks delicious.
Very fun.
Wow.
And I mean, I hope we can prove the pairing
Absolutely, let's
good
try
or
it.
bad. I mean, we're talking to the expert here.
Well, I'm what the Japanese consider kuishimbo, which means that foodie is actually more of like a sophisticated, eater. Kuishimbo means someone who just loves to eat anything. Yeah.
Nice. So we learned a new
anything
word
good,
today.
anything good.
Kuishimbo.
So I'm a kuishimbo. I'm not a foodie. I'm just a kuishimbo.
An expert eater.
Expert eater. Okay.
So,
Shall we?
yeah.
Did you pour that sake for me?
This
Oh,
is, yep.
Oh,
this
kanpai.
is Kanpai.
Kanpai.
And one of the notes on this sake, which on pasteurized gives, it's like lively and viscous, and it's a little richer. So that's why right away Tamiko was driven into like the fresh tomato and those characteristics.
Yes.
But I'll let you try it first and
Absolutely.
tell us the truth, and then we'll
Yes.
pass it around.
Oh, with the dish?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
If you insist.
Lamb carpaccio. This could be a first time pairing, but I have a good feeling. Showing off my chopstick skills.
Yes.
Yeah. a little bit messy. Yup. There. Okay, itadakimasu. Delicious. A little bit bitey. From the yuzu kosho, you know that.
Good.
Good quality salt they use too, of course, right? This is Morimoto's.
It's gotta be, otherwise we wouldn't be here.
Works. Works well. Yeah, it's not gamey at all. Like the lamb is very pleasant. It brings out a little bit of sweet out of the lamb, bring out the sweet in sake, as well as bringing out the tastiness of the lamb, like a natural sweetness of the lamb. And the spice is no problem at all. But sometimes the spice can flatten the sake. Sometimes it happens, but no, this is, see, this is a the sake that's made from very fat kind of plump rice, omachi. It's a very famous old, like a wild strain of rice. I'm a big fan of omachi rice, sake in general, but this works.
Nice.
Yes, omachi, little bit of spice in the finish too. I tend to find that in this sake, and spice on spice that works really well too. Compliment.
Definitely.
All right.
And thank you all guys for coming and joining us today. That's pretty exciting. It's good to have a fun crowd.
Cheers.
Cheers. So if we want to
What's
further
next,
move,
Eduardo?
I would say perhaps the
Shall we go?
Taihekai?
Yes. Yes.
And Taihekai is a pretty fun sake. Tamiko has some great stories about it.
Yes.
Let's see.
Taihekai. Yes, Taihekai literally means Pacific Ocean. And this brewery's owner, his name is Taka. Well, real name is Takaaki Yamauchi. He's sixth generation? Fifth or sixth generation? So anyways, the brewery was founded in mid-80s. A lot of breweries were founded around the 1800s, a little bit later, because of the law changing in Japan, like a banning of home brewing. So there are business opportunities for those entrepreneurs who wanted to start a sake business. So there are a lot of breweries founded mid-1800s, and they were one of them. Their breweries actually considered historic sites. So if you go to visit the Fuchu Homare, which is the name of the brewery, you still get to see the original rice storage building that's almost crumbled at the earthquake, but it's still there. I was a little scared going in after the earthquake. It was 2 years after the earthquake. Went to visit them the last time, but the building is still intact. I was shocked. Although their older building in the back, more like a warehouse area, was completely collapsed. So that was a little bit shocking. But thank goodness, most part of the brewery was still intact.
Nice. Both originally from 1865, I imagine.
I'm not sure about the warehouse, but I know that the rice storage, Komegura, I think. It's the building that they used to store rice. Almost look like silo a little bit. Very tall building with a little bit airy hole in the top. Anyways, Taihekai, the Pacific Ocean. It's a name that was given to the sake because the current owner, Taka's father or grandfather, dream was to someday send the sake across Pacific Ocean to America. So here it is. It's in America, and it's in Napa, and it's in Morimoto's. Wow, his dream came true and more. So this sake is so interesting. Today, kind of interesting because 3 sakes. The first 2 are made from same yeast, strain of yeast, and then the last 2 are made from same rice. But all 3 are so different in terms of expression, the flavor profile, the way it drinks, the face, and the feel of it. Taihekai, I love it. This is pretty mature bottle. Just happened that this is the bottle that's from last year's shipment. Nice, laced with like a very mature melon, a little bit of nuttiness, very round. the flavor profile. This sake to me is superb and contrast pairing. Yeah, surprising pairings. Yeah. I can take this to, of course, Japanese restaurant, but also Southeast Asian restaurants.
Absolutely.
Thai food, and Thai is marvelous. I mean, amazing.
Southern Italian food, I imagine, with the pasta, rich pasta with mushrooms.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
like that, even
Cheese,
pizza.
yeah, very light, kind of like the mild nutty, like Munster, like that. Beautiful, beautiful pairing.
Yeah.
So
we have a few things to try, just as we want to try them.
Yes.
We have some house-made soy dashi, some ponzu, little fish sauce, and then chef's secret ingredient today. He's playing with duck hearts. So we have some duck hearts yakitori, the little kewpie mayo and togarashi, very traditional, and we also have the angry hearts, which is duck hearts, the little panko and angry sauce.
What is the angry sauce? Explain.
It's a little spicy, has a little chilies, it's got a little Indian spice to it.
All right,
pretty
sounds
good.
like a Thai kind
I
of
thought it was a
pairing.
perfect, considering Valentine's is coming. Angry Heart's kind of a play on Valentine's Day. We're obviously not going to serve it that day, but we'll never know.
I see.
Yeah, cost-wise, so Sekio on any given list, I'd say it'll range in a restaurant about $65, $70, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there.
That sounds right.
So
About
if you find a
60 to 80,
retail,
yeah.
it'd probably be about 30, 25, 30?
No, more like mid-30s.
Mid-30s?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And Daihakai, I'd say slightly under, right?
Yeah, so probably around $30 retail.
Uh-huh.
I'd say. Yep.
Excellent. So about somewhere around 70 on the list. And the Hawk in the Heavens we'll try in a second. We'll
That's
probably,
about the same
actually all about pretty line price on all three of them. But let's just try this one.
Let's try this. I think this would be exciting to try with the sauce. One of my eye-opening experience with Thai Hekai, kind of like when you're on a date and you are still trying to figure out your mate, and you feel like you kind of figure him out, and there was a moment when he surprises you, and that's happened with my experience with Thai Hekai when I paired it with ponzu. Ponzu changed Thai Hekai in a way that it brought up something different out of the sake. So that I'm excited to try with ponzu. But then again, we have a fish sauce and then the dashi, the soy sauce. So it would be interesting to see how the sake changes and how that pairs with the three very distinct kinds of sauce. How should we go about this? Dip my fingers in there just like I do at home?
I believe so.
Okay.
Or we can get your spoon, either way you want.
That's a little more
fancy
elegant.
bar spoon.
Yeah. Wow. That's the fancy spoon ever
I
used
know.
for tasting
We're
sauce.
prepared for you.
Yes. So
It's for the show.
yeah. I think this is done. This is shoyu dashi, and that's the ponzu.
That is the ponzu right there.
Yes. I want to try
Wow.
ponzu first. Only because I kind of. Well, this is the family style, right? And you have
Absolutely.
both? I don't have cold.
Wow, that is
Good. Very citrusy.
That is a true fun play there.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
You don't expect it. 'Cause
No,
it's-
you don't. It
the
makes
citrus
it almost
explodes and then just, wow, just joins the party.
yes.
Wow.
And then it's a little bit fluffy, like a little bit rounder, like puffy, like almost like a it explodes.
A little richness
Meaning,
explosion.
yes.
Definitely. Wow. She said it right. That is pretty fun.
All right, and here's an aqua with fish sauce, which is predominantly used in Southeast Asian cuisines, as you know. And they're all very, by the way, umami heavy sauces here. Yeah. By the way, one of the things makes sake so addictingly delicious is that the umami component.
Absolutely.
The glutamic acid in sake is 4 times as much in average as any given wine, while total amount of acidity is 1/4 of wine.
Wow.
So it's predominantly acidity in sake is very a lot of rounder, softer acidity, including glutamic acid, that gives it much dimension to and real savory quality to it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So basically,
As
you could do a barbecue at home for Super Bowl Sunday and bring some sake, some of these bigger, richer style sakes, and be the star.
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow, that is. Wait till you guys try this. This is amazing. I would have never tried them on their own like this until you mentioned them. Yes, absolutely. We're opening the Momo-san bar in a few weeks, couple. But in the meantime, you can come, call us ahead of time. I'm here most of the time, and we'll make sure we make an experience for you guys. Yes, definitely. I mean, morimotonapa.com, or call us at the restaurant, or email me at eduardo@morimotonapa.com. But yeah, we're trying to make this pretty fun sake bar, as you can see, and bring in friends, and just having a bigger. Thank you.
So
first time Tamiko sees it.
Yes, I will be here. I will hang out here. You will find me here.
Yeah, so we're working on Chef Morimoto's 60th birthday, which is coming up end of February, and he's decided to join us here for the opening of the restaurant, and we'll do a big party about it. And
oh my goodness,
we are thrilled.
Be here for that.
Yes,
yeah, I would love to
you
come.
will. Pretty fun. And I would have never thought about sitting down and trying fish sauce, especially on its own with sake.
Isn't it incredible?
Wow.
Yeah. I tell you, can't do this with any sake. Only
No.
a handful of that sake can.
Yeah, definitely. Probably avoid daiginjos, right? Or
well, this
some.
maybe there's some, might be, but it's harder to find. Definitely, these are all, by the way, jumai. Only one is a jumai ginjo, so they're basically lesser mild. It's more food-friendly sakes in general. Yeah, and you're right. As milling proceeds and the more refined the sake becomes, the pairing becomes a little more precise. The taste profile is a little more compact and precise.
Wow. All right, and we have one more sake since the time's flying. And while I pour this, I wanted to mention there's a few shows coming up. There is the vegan cooking on the 16th. Also, next month, Catch Tips of the Sum by Sums with Scott Barber, Gregory Condes Wines. And also in March is coming with the dog trainer, which is going to be a huge show. And make sure you catch some of the shows in the local TV. If you're in Napa, if you're in New Zealand, if you're in Australia, you can always log in and just watch the shows at any point at your fingertips. So log in on ToutSuite. And then, here I'm very excited for this one as well.
This is actually very interesting. I think this might be right on. This is pretty high acidity jumai. It's bottle rested for a full year before shipment. So it has a nice kind of funky rustic notes. This is from Tochigi too. Tochigi doesn't have any coastal line. Their food is, everything is a little bit more salty, preserved, very rustic kind of style sake. I can see that, yes, going well with the duck part. Not, maybe, I don't know about the angry duck, but the happy duck.
Who has tried the duck hearts before?
Yeah, please.
No? There's always a first time. Please grab a couple skewers.
Yes, please.
Yeah? Didier for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And rabbit hearts and all the fun stuff.
Good.
Right there, please.
Yeah, have it with the glass of sake.
Where's your
Duck
glass?
hearts. Yes. Yeah. Please. Shall we? Oh, try it. Yeah.
Come on, Ish.
Boris, you come? Yes. Let's do a kampai with the duck heart and then rustic jumai. Eduardo, you want to have the piece there? Yeah. Boris, you come and have? You got one? Okay. Hey, Eduardo, before time is up, I think that it's worth mentioning. I think that where our industry is going now. I like I mentioned earlier. Imports growing, the sake consumer is widening, and it's really I feel like it's my mission, and people like you, all of us in industry who are not necessarily working for Japanese companies, but more like working for for international business. Really,
Absolutely.
this is sake is becoming more mainstream, more and more, and I can see this really the trend continuing, and eventually sake becoming on menus of any restaurants, not limited to Japanese. And this is a really
Absolutely.
fun time to be in this industry, don't you think?
Absolutely. There's a
Yeah.
couple examples. One of our friends, Paul Slack, just opened a place called Melted.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool sandwiches. It's on the street with the waffles and whatnot. Pretty innovative. And he's got a couple sakes in there.
No way.
So, and he's doing great with them. He came and talked to me. We decided on one or two, and he's just killing it with that.
Wow.
There's a handful of Italian restaurants trying to get in or already got sake in. French cuisine
like
could
that.
benefit a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no end. I mean, French Laundry has been using sake in one of the pairings for years.
Yes.
So that's always, I mean, wine is not only for French restaurants or Italian
That's
restaurants,
right,
so why
that's
would
right.
you cap it only for that? So it's pretty exciting.
It is exciting.
Definitely. And one of the things you mentioned that it's always captivated me is how when you were young, you started drinking cocktails, and that's probably what's happening to the industry to a certain extent. The kids grow up and they're like, oh, sake is for older people, or that's what I saw growing up, and then they go for another drink. But it's always important to always go back to the root. As a country, Italy went through the same thing with their wines. France, in Mexico, I saw the same thing happen with tequila and mezcal, and now it's doing a resurgence.
Yeah.
So it's pretty important, and support sake. It's not an obscure thing. You can see that it's pretty tasty, pretty fun.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
a lot of myths are pretty much dissolved on
Yes,
sake.
yes, absolutely. I did all that, Eduardo, and you and I are in it, and we're the part of the missionaries.
Yes.
We're the missionaries. Yeah.
Absolutely. Ambassadors are
Ambassadors.
enjoying sake one day at a time.
Yes.
And
One sake drinker at a time.
Exactly. So thanks for joining us at Sake Drinker and Friends. Thanks to Tamiko.
Thank you.
All of you guys, pretty excited to have you. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the duck hearts and
Yes.
all the fun stuff. Cheers, guys.